Hello friends, I am Dr. Neelam Mahajan. I shall be discussing today Introduction to Topical Drug Delivery under your paper Product Development 1. In this module, we will learn why is topical drug delivery preferred, what are effects elicited by topical drug delivery, various routes of penetration and factors affecting it, percutaneous absorption and its enhancement, formulation concerns of topical dosage forms and delivery systems, conventional topical semi-solid dosage forms, and other dosage forms for application to skin and its appendages. And last but not the least, we will also discuss factors governing topical drug delivery through rectal, vaginal, and urethral routes of administration and various rectal, vaginal, and urethral dosage forms. Friends, skin is increasingly used as a route of drug administration because it is easily accessible. Epidermis offers a surface area 100 to 1000 times greater than the other routes of absorption. It facilitates the prolongation of the time for which applied preparations can stay intact. Skin comprises of three tissue layers: epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis layer. Stratum corneum is the outermost layer of the epidermis. It consists of compacted, dead, keratinized cells in stratified layers with a density of 1.55. It is markedly hygroscopic and retards water loss from underlying tissues. It minimizes ultraviolet light penetration and limits the entrance of microorganisms, medications, and toxic substances. It functions as a protective physical and chemical barrier layer which is only slightly permeable to water. Beneath stratum corneum are metabolically active layers of epidermis. Dermis or corium constitutes the main mass of the skin. It contains and supports numerous blood vessels, lymphatics, nerves, and the epidermal appendages including the hair follicles, sebaceous, and sweat glands. Hair follicles occupy fractional area of the skin which is roughly 1,000th of the total surface. Hence, the total absorbing surface offered by the pilosebaceous units is relatively small. The sweat glands are divided into the acrine and apocrine types. Hypodermis is the next layer. Dermis rests on it. It comprises of loose fatty connective tissue. Now we will discuss the various routes of penetration. When a drug system is applied topically, the drug diffuses out of its vehicle onto the surface tissues of the skin and takes the best possible route for skin penetration. Preference for taking a particular route over other routes depends almost exclusively on the physicochemical properties of the drug and the conditions of the skin. Under the appropriate conditions, all the contending routes of penetration may change and play the major role. There are three potential portals of entry which include the follicular region, the sweat ducts, the unbroken stratum corneum between the appendages or transepidermal route. Most molecules penetrate through skin via inter or transcellular microroute rather than shunt pathways which include the transglandular or transfollicular routes. Now we will discuss transepidermal route. This route offers fairly rapid penetration after steady state diffusion. The dominant diffusion made is through the intact stratum corneum. It is a passive process affected only by the substance being absorbed, the medium in which the substance is dispersed, and by ambient conditions. Material, particularly lipid soluble molecules and molecules with relatively low permeation through stratum corneum, may enter the ducts and even the glands. However, they do so with no apparent penetration from these areas to the dermis, particularly the transient diffusion occurring shortly after the application of a substance to the skin surface occurs primarily via follicles and ducts. After the passage of a substance through stratum corneum, it readily enters into the circulation via the capillaries. Essentially, the concentration gradient ends in the dermal layer at the beginning of the circulation. There is apparently no significant hindrance to the penetration of the remaining epidermal layers and corium. The systemic circulation acts as a reservoir or sink for the drug. In the general circulation, the drug is diluted and distributed rapidly with little systemic buildup. So, friends, talking about the effects elicited by topical drug delivery, the bulk of the semi-solids are applied to the skin, usually as vehicles for topically applied drugs to elicit effects on the skin surface, effects within the stratum corneum leading to the softening of the skin, a more deep-seated effect at specific sites in the viable epidermis or upper dermis. This requires diffusive penetration of the skin or percutaneous absorption. Comparatively smaller values of diffusion coefficients in stratum corneum are responsible for higher resistance to topically applied drugs and its general impenetrability. Thus, the penetration of a drug into the viable epidermis and dermis may be difficult to achieve. They can also be used to elicit a systemic effect resulting from the delivery of sufficient drug through the epidermis and dermis to the vasculature to produce therapeutic systemic concentrations. Drug delivery systems that provide substantial localized delivery without achieving correspondingly high systemic concentrations are possible to formulate. A lesser number of topical semi-solids are applied to mucous membranes like rectal tissue, buccal tissue, vaginal mucosa, urethral membrane, external air lining, nasal mucosa, and cornea. So, friends, after having learnt about the effects elicited by topical drug delivery, it is equally important to discuss the factors affecting skin penetration. The mucous membranes permit more ready access to the systemic circulation, whereas normal skin is relatively impenetrable. The factors that influence skin penetration include primarily the physicochemical properties of the drug and secondarily the vehicle, pH, and concentration. The absorption rate and the molecular weight are probably inversely related. Very large molecules like proteins and polysaccharides show poor or no penetration. Physiological variables involve the intact or injured condition, the age, the area, the temperature, the species variation, the moisture content, and the thickness of the skin barrier tissue. The hydration state of stratum corneum is the principal factor governing the rate of passage of all substances penetrating skin. Under occlusive conditions, its normal composition changes from having little water to 50% water. Hydration of stratum corneum results from water diffusing from underlying epidermal layers or perspiration that accumulates after application of an occlusive vehicle or covering on the surface. The solubility of a drug determines the concentration presented to the absorption site, and water lipid partition coefficient influences the rate of transport. The effect of regional variations in skin permeability between two species of horny layer can be significant. That is, their adaptation for weight bearing and friction and for flexibility impermeability, and sensory discrimination. Electrolytes in solution penetrate the skin poorly. Ionization of a weak electrolyte substantially reduces its permeability. For example, sodium salicylate permeates poorly compared with salicylic acid. Percutaneous absorption is a complicated process with two phases, including epidermal diffusion and clearance from the dermis. It involves the transfer of drug from the skin surface into stratum corneum, facilitated by a concentration gradient and its subsequent diffusion through stratum corneum and underlying epidermis through the dermis and into the microcirculation. Clearance from the dermis depends on factors including effective blood flow, interstitial fluid movement, lymphatics. The skin behaves as a passive barrier to diffusing molecules. The percutaneous absorption of a drug can be enhanced by the use of occlusive techniques. These techniques are useful in some clinical situations requiring anti-inflammatory activity. Occlusion of the skin surface by a transdermal delivery system or a hydrophobic film is beneficial because it leads to certain consequences. Occlusion of the skin prevents the loss of surface water from the skin. Water is absorbed readily by the protein components of the skin, and degree of hydration increases in the stratum corneum. The associated swelling of the horny layer ostensibly decreases protein network density and diffusional path length. It also increases skin temperature by 2 to 3 degrees, resulting in increased molecular motion and skin permeation. However, it leads to the formation of an aqueous film at the formulation skin interface, leading to decreased transfer efficiency and or a loss of adhesion. Accordingly, the suppression of perspiration is needed to enhance vehicle skin partitioning efficiency and drug permeation. Exposure of the surrounding skin area to localized heating or cooling can extensively change transdermal drug bioavailability due to changes in regional cutaneous blood flow and subsequent systemic uptake. Use of penetration enhancers is the second technique to enhance the percutaneous absorption. Penetration enhancers are the substances that facilitate drug absorption through the skin. These enhancers predominantly either increase stratum corneum's degree of hydration or disrupt its lipoprotein matrix. In either case, the net result is a decrease in resistance to drug diffusion. Penetration enhancers with a direct effect on skin permeability include solvents, surfactants, and miscellaneous chemicals. Other enhancers like polyols augment percutaneous absorption by increasing the thermodynamic activity of the penetrant, leading to an increase in the effective escaping tendency and concentration gradient of the diffusing species. These enhancers also may increase drug solubility. Cutaneous biotransformation is the catabolic enzymatic activity in the viable epidermis and is significant than in the dermis. Biotransformation of the topically applied drug during skin permeation can affect local and systemic bioavailability significantly. Enzymatic activity in the skin or in systemic fluids and tissues can be used to facilitate percutaneous absorption. Friends, after discussing the factors affecting skin penetration, let us switch over to the discussion on the formulation aspects of topical dosage forms and drug delivery systems. Topical dosage forms contain the active drug ingredient and non-drug excipients that comprise the vehicle or formulation matrix. Conventional medicated topicals like creams and ointments seldom permit substantial systemic uptake of the drug or drugs incorporated therein. This is partly due to their limited residence time on the skin surface. Practically, a drug does not remain in contact with the absorbing surface long enough for sufficient drug to transfer into the skin and ultimately into systemic circulation. A conventional dosage form tends to have empirical composition and its formulation focuses on stability and aesthetics rather than efficacy. Formulation focus of a topical delivery system is on the functionality and efficacy besides stability and aesthetics. Now we will discuss the formulation concerns of topical dosage forms and drug delivery systems. In general, the formulator of an efficacious topical gel preparation is concerned with optimization of the concentration of diffusible drug in the vehicle for a given label strength by ensuring that the entire drug is in solution. She is also concerned with maintaining a favorable partition coefficient despite minimum amount of solvent being used to dissolve the drug completely. Further, the formulator is also concerned with the favorable influence of the vehicle components on the permeability of the stratum corneum. The formulator also attempts to combine safety, stability, and effective preservative efficacy with optimum drug delivery in the total formulation. Practically, the amounts applied significantly influence momentary compositions and thus delivery capabilities of the real vehicles. The first major concern is drug selection. A simple equation for steady state flux explains factors affecting drug permeation rate through stratum corneum. If the cumulative mass of the diffusant M passing per unit area through the membrane at long times is plotted, the graph approaches linearity and its slope gives the steady state flux dm by dt described by the equation dm by dt is equal to dc0 k upon h. Now discussing the ideal properties of a molecule penetrating stratum corneum. The molecule should have low molecular mass when D tends to be high. It should have adequate solubility in oil and water so that the membrane concentration gradient may be high, and saturated solutions or suspensions having the same maximum thermodynamic activity promote maximum flux in equilibrium systems. The drug should have high but balanced K because too large value of K may inhibit clearance by viable tissues. It should have low melting point correlating with good solubility as predicted by ideal solubility theory. An alternative form of the equation 1 uses thermodynamic activities when dm by dt is equal to d alpha upon gamma h. For maximum penetration rate, the drug should possess highest thermodynamic activity. Dissolved molecules in saturated solution are in equilibrium with pure solid and possess maximum activity. Thus, all vehicles containing drug as a finely ground suspension should produce the same penetration rate provided that the systems behave ideally. That is, D, gamma and H remain constant. Supersaturated solutions may arise by a co-solvent evaporation on the skin or formulation design. The theoretical maximum flux may then increase manifold. Ideality is difficult to maintain as most topical vehicles interact to some extent with the horny layer. Insoluble drugs must be uniformly dispersed throughout the vehicle to ensure homogeneity of the product. The solid must be impalpable to touch to avoid grittiness. Finally, divided solids provide more surface area for contact with dermal site and increase the rate of dissolution of poorly soluble substances. Some powders do not disperse uniformly but tend to aggregate in the base, whereas others present no difficulties even though the particle size is same. The difference may be due to the electrically charged surface condition of the particles after milling. Aggregation of particles is observed for those less than or equal to 5 microns in size. For particles below 0.5 micron in size, there is an exponential increase in dispersion problems. Many drugs used in topical preparations like prednisolone exist in several polymorphic states. Compounds that exist in different crystalline forms at room temperature possess varying amounts of free energy or thermodynamic activity. The physiological activity and availability of a drug is often directly related to its thermodynamic activity. Hence, choice of the proper crystalline form for use in semi-solids is vitally important. Following its incorporation into the semi-solid, the maintenance of the selected polymorphic form in the semi-solid is of equal concern. The components of the vehicle and method of preparation of the semi-solid dosage form affect the stability of the polymorphic form. Charged molecules do not readily penetrate stratum corneum. Techniques like formation of a lipophilic ion pair by adding an oppositely charged species and complex coercion are used to enhance their penetration. In one technique, a lipophilic ion pair is formed by adding an oppositely charged species. The ion pair partitions into the stratum corneum lipids, diffuses to the aqueous viable epidermis, there to dissociate into its charged species, which partition into the epidermis and diffuses onward. Generally, the enhancement is modest. Complex coercion is the separation of oppositely charged ions into a coercerate oil phase rich in ionic complex. The coercerate partitions into stratum corneum where it behaves as ion pairs, diffuses, dissociates, and passes into the viable tissues. After discussing the drug concerns, let us discuss the vehicles or semi-solid bases used. The vehicles used for pharmaceutical semi-solid dosage forms are called as bases and differ from cosmetic bases. For a cosmetic, penetration into the skin is not desired and its cosmetic effect or appearance on the skin is more important. On the other hand, penetration or protection is desired in a pharmaceutical semi-solid and its cosmetic effect or appearance on the skin is less important. A well-formulated pharmaceutical semi-solid should be both therapeutically effective and cosmetically appealing with emphasis on therapeutic efficacy. Therapeutically active semi-solids include products intended for application to the skin, scalp, and certain body orifices. Examples include ophthalmic ointments, nasal jellies, gels, and sterile lubricants for surgical use. The choice of the semi-solid vehicle depends on solubility, stability of the drug in the base, and nature of the skin lesion. Friends, let's learn about the conventional transdermal drug delivery systems. These systems facilitate increase in residence time of the topical formulation on the skin surface from hours to days. Further, the inclusion of skin penetration enhancers decreases diffusional resistance and increases transport. These systems maintain relatively uniform concentrations of diffusible drugs in the formulation as well as constant drug release rates over an extended period of time. The novel matrix or reservoir formulations are used to achieve the goal. Their water impermeable backing film occludes skin, increases skin hydration and temperature, leading to increased rate and extent of skin permeation. This further facilitates their systemic efficacy. Evaporation and loss of volatile formulation components post application can affect their composition and performance. Skin permeation by excipients also may occur after application, leading to further compositional changes in the applied film on the skin surface. Non-volatile excipients like propylene glycol evaporate after topical application. The impact of this evaporative and absorptive loss of adjuvants post-application increases as the volume of the applied formulation is reduced. Now we should discuss the alternative transdermal drug delivery systems and their formulation. Alternative transdermal drug delivery systems, including electrically modulated systems and mechanical systems, circumvent the need for partitioning and diffusion of the drug out of the formulation matrix into and through the skin. Electrotransport system facilitates drug transport by an external electrical field. Electrotransport mechanisms include iontophoresis, electroosmosis, and electroporation. Mechanically modulated systems are exemplified by systems employing phonophoresis or those using microneedle arrays to achieve transdermal drug delivery. Topical drug delivery systems and transdermal drug delivery systems are open systems kinetically due to the formulation skin interface with considerable thermodynamic differences. Most topical formulations are left open to the air after application, while transdermal drug delivery systems are self-contained closed systems. Now we shall discuss the conventional topical dosage forms, that is semi-solids. The first conventional topical dosage form of semi-solids is ointment. Ointments are semi-solids intended for external application to skin or mucous membranes for emolliency or other quasi-medicinal benefits. Usually, but not always, they contain medicinal substances. Ointment bases used as vehicles for drugs are selected or designed to facilitate drug transfer into the skin. However, compromises are needed in the selection of these bases so that a balance between stability and drug activity, patient acceptability, and percutaneous absorption can be maintained. Now we will discuss dosage forms for application to the skin and its appendages. First dosage form for application to skin and its appendages include poultices or cataplasms. A poultice is a soft, moist mass of meal, herbs, seed, etc., tended to be absorptive and are usually applied hot in a cloth. These are meant to localize infectious material in the body or to act as counter irritants. The next dosage form includes pastes. Pastes are semi-solid dosage forms containing one or more drug substances intended for topical application. The term is also used for ointments in which large amounts of solids have been incorporated. Pastes are divided into fatty pastes and those made from a single phase aqueous gel. The fatty pastes are stiff to the point of dryness and are reasonably absorptive considering they have a petrolatum base. They are often used in the treatment of oozing lesions to absorb serous secretions. Pastes adhere reasonably well to the skin and are poorly occlusive. Hence, they are suited for application on and around moist lesions. Their heavy consistency imparts degree of protection. They are less macerating than ointments, and because of their physical properties, they may be removed from the skin by the use of mineral oil or vegetable oil. The next dosage form in this category are powders. Powders for external use are usually dusting powders with particle size less than or equal to 150 micrometer to avoid any sensation of grittiness leading to irritation of traumatized skin. Dusting powders usually contain starch, talc, and zinc stearate. Then dressings. Dressings are external applications resembling ointments and are usually used as a covering or protection. Topical antibacterials are available in the form of dressings. The next dosage form is creams. Creams are viscous liquids or semi-solid emulsions of either oil in water or water in oil type. Oil in water type creams are exemplified by shaving creams, hand creams, and foundation creams. Water in oil type creams are exemplified by cold creams and emollient creams. Creams include ointment bases and a variety of cosmetic type preparations. Pharmaceutical creams are generally water removable creams. The next dosage form is plasters. Plasters are substances for external application made of materials and consistency, facilitating adherence to the skin and attachment to a dressing. They usually adhere to the skin by means of an adhesive material. The adhesive must bond to the plastic backing and to the skin or dressing with proper balance of cohesive strengths. This facilitates removal or adhesive breakage at skin surface, leaving a clean skin surface after plaster removal. Plasters are intended to protect, support, or to furnish an occlusive and macerating action. These bring medication into close contact with the skin. Medicated plasters used for local or regional drug delivery are the prototypical transdermal delivery systems. Let us learn about the ungual and perangual drug delivery. Nails are skin's appendages. The nail unit includes nail folds, nail matrix, nail bed, and skin under the free edge of the nail plate. Critical factors affecting ungual and perangual drug delivery are the properties of the nail unit, which include thickness and hydration, and the properties of the applied drug, which include molecular size, shape, electrical charge, and lipophilic hydrophilic character. Then relatively slow growth rate, the hardness, poor permeability to drug molecules, and rigidity of the nail plate are major concerns for drug absorption into and through the nail. Conventional topical drug formulations for nail disorders include semi-solids like creams and ointments, drug-containing nail lacquers or varnishes, similar to cosmetic nail polishes. Drug-containing nail lacquers or varnishes generally consist of a solution of the drug in a quick-drying solution of a film-forming polymer. When these lacquers are applied to the nail plate, the solvent evaporates, leaving the drugs in an adherent polymer film on the nail surface. Subsequent drug diffusion from the polymer film into the nail plate and the nail bed is expected to yield effective ungual concentrations of the drug if there is substantial enough drug partitioning from the polymer film into the nail unit. Therefore, the factors affecting the formulation of such nail lacquers are drug content and solubility in the nail lacquer, relative drug affinity for polymer film and the nail unit, the diffusivity of the drug in the polymer film and nail unit components, the degree of hydration of the nail plate, and the polymer film induced reduction of water loss to the environment from the nail surface. Now coming over to topical drug delivery through rectal, vaginal and urethral routes of administration. First of all, we will discuss the topical drug delivery through rectal route. Rectally administered preparations including suppositories, foams or solutions are likely to be confined to the rectum and sigmoid colon if the volume is less than about 5050 ml. Foams tend to dissipate or spread to a lesser extent than solutions, particularly large volume solutions with a volume ranging from 100 to 200 ml. Large volume fluid formulation, that is solution or enema, may allow drug to reach the ascending colon through evident substantial intra and intersubject variations may not be ruled. Rectal drug absorption from suppositories can be erratic. Rectum is about 150 mm in length, terminating in the anus. Its surface area is about 200 to 400 square centimeter. In the absence of fecal matter, the rectum contains a small amount of fluid, that is 1 to 3 ml, with low buffering capacity. Fluid pH is about 7.2. Because of the low buffer capacity, rectal pH will vary with the pH of the drug product or drug dissolved in it. Clearly, the bioavailability of a drug administered rectally depends on the nature of the drug and composition of the vehicle or base. The physical properties of the drug and characteristics of the base selected as the delivery system can be modified to some extent. The lower, middle and upper hemorrhoidal veins surround the rectum. Only the upper vein conveys blood into the portal system. Therefore, drugs absorbed into the lower and middle hemorrhoidal veins will bypass the liver. Absorption and distribution of a drug are modified by its position in the rectum. Some of the drugs absorbed from the rectum may pass directly into the inferior vena cava, bypassing the liver. The predominant mechanism of colorectal mucosal permeation involves transcellular passage across cell membranes as per the pH partition theory. Due to ease of accessibility to the rectal mucosa, absorption enhancers are used to alter epithelial permeability or to affect water influx and efflux rates across rectal mucosa like bile salts and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents. Surfactants modify membrane permeability, enhance wetting or spreading of the base and dissolution of the drug. Enhancing the rectal absorption of drugs that undergo pre-systemic elimination could substantially reduce dosage requirements and decrease risk of adverse reactions. Friends, now the major factors affecting the absorption of drugs from rectal suppository. These factors include anorectal physiology, suppository vehicle, and the physicochemical properties of the drug. Anorectal physiology, if we talk about the reversed vermicular contractions of the external anal sphincter facilitate movement of the suppository upward into the rectum. The rectal epithelium is lipoidal in character. Spreading characteristics of rectal formulations may be affected significantly by intraluminal rectal pressure due to the weight of abdominal organs, respiratory activity, and periodic contractile activity of the rectal wall. The next factor affecting drug absorption from rectal suppositories is the physicochemical properties of the drug as well as composition of the base. The drug bioavailability from a suppository depends on the physicochemical properties of the drug as well as the base composition. For suppository formulation, the relative solubility of the drug in the vehicle is important. Lipid-soluble drugs present in low concentration in a cocoa butter base will have little tendency to partition and diffuse into rectal fluids. Drugs only slightly soluble in the lipid base will partition readily into the rectal fluid. The partition coefficient between suppository base and rectal fluid is thus a very useful measure. In water-soluble bases, assuming rapid dissolution, the rate-limiting step in absorption would be a transport of the drug through rectal mucosa. Let us discuss topical drug delivery through vaginal route now. Extensive drug absorption can occur from vagina. Following intravaginal administration, some drug absorption from intact vaginal mucosa is likely even when used for a local effect. The vaginal epithelial surface usually is covered with an aqueous film originating from cervical secretions. Passive drug absorption via vaginal mucosa is influenced by absorption site physiology, absorption site pH, the solubility, and partitioning characteristics of the drug. Furthermore, systemic drug concentrations following vaginal dosing may be significantly higher due to decreased first pass biotransformation following vaginal absorption. Now discussing about topical drug delivery through urethral route. Drug absorption from the urethral lumen via the urethral mucosa is governed by the same principles that apply to drug absorption across other mucosal surfaces. Now we will discuss rectal, vaginal and urethral dosage forms. Under this heading, first of all we will discuss conventional dosage forms, suppositories. Suppositories are solid dosage forms of various weights and shapes, usually medicated for insertion into rectum, vagina or urethra. After insertion, suppositories soften, melt, disperse or dissolve in the cavity fluids. Suppositories are suited particularly for administration of drugs to very young and very old. Now the rectal suppositories. Most rectal suppositories today are torpedo shaped with the apex tapering to the base. Ease of insertion, retention and lack of expulsion are enhanced when the suppository is inserted base end up. Rectal cocoa butter suppositories for adults usually weigh about 2 grams each. When other bases are used, these may weigh greater or less than 2 grams. Infant rectal suppositories usually weigh about 1 gram each. Drugs having systemic effects like sedatives, tranquilizers, and analgesics are administered by rectal suppositories. Now, vaginal suppositories. Vaginal suppositories or pessaries are usually globular or oviform and weigh about 5 grams each. Vaginal tablets or inserts prepared by encapsulation in soft gelatin are convenient to administer and manufacture and conform to the definition of pessaries. Now, coming over to urethral suppositories. Urethral suppositories or bogies are cylindrical dosage forms traditionally made using cocoa butter as a base with specific dimensions which are different for females and males. Lastly, we will be discussing contraceptives. Contraceptives are employed in the form of creams, jellies, or aerosol foams intended for vaginal use to immobilize spermatozoa to protect against pregnancy. These are designed to melt or spread following insertion over the vaginal surface. Creams and jellies for contraceptive use may contain spermicidal agents or may function by a specific pH effect because a pH of 3.5 or less has an appreciable spermicidal effect. A final in situ pH of 3.5 or less is required. Therefore, the dilution effect and pH change by vaginal fluids must be taken into account. To achieve the proper pH effect and control, buffer systems composed of acid and acid salts like lactates, acetates, and citrates are commonly used. So friends, today we discussed topical drug delivery and learned why it is preferred, what are the effects elicited by topical drug delivery, various routes of skin penetration, factors affecting skin penetration, percutaneous absorption and its enhancements. We also learned the major formulation concerns of topical dosage forms and drug delivery systems, including conventional topical semi-solid dosage forms and other dosage forms for application to skin and its appendages. Lastly, we discussed various factors governing topical drug delivery through rectal, vaginal, and urethral routes of administration along with various rectal, vaginal, and urethral dosage forms.